everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Play On podcast. This is a hurling edition, and in this episode, me and Luke are going to do our very first team of the year, the hurling team of the year for 2021. Luke, we'll start with the goalkeepers, and this probably is the easiest position. There is one standout nominee for the position, and that is Owen Murphy of Kilkenny.
Look, I think a lot of people are going to be looking at it and saying that Nicky Quaid did nothing wrong all year, kind of. But yeah, I think I personally went for Owen Murphy myself, kind of. Again, probably a little bit closer decision for me, I think, because you look kind of Quaid made some absolutely fantastic saves all year. You look particularly back to the Horgan penalty that he saved. But the reason I went to Owen Murphy, I suppose, in the end is it's just nearly circumstance, I suppose. Is that Quaid finds himself kind of protected by like an elite defense, kind of that let off very few quality shots, are kind of able to get past that defense, and then he has to deal with. So just by the nature of, like, you look at some of the saves Owen Murphy made some this season, kind of, and like particularly that Jack O'Connor save was one of the great saves in Croke Park, and just due to kind of that kind of the kind of the volume of saves that he had to make all year. That's why I went for Owen Murphy. Quaid's puckouts were probably a little bit better, but you're looking at Owen Murphy at the position. I just still think he's the best keeper in the country. So yeah, that's why I lean towards him as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with you fully there. So I think Patrick Collins deserves an honorary mention as well. He made a fantastic save in the All-Ireland final against Limerick from Tom Morrissey. You know, he's a new goalkeeper. It's his first real year as Cork's number one. How did you think he did this year?
I thought he was really good. And the thing about Collins is he's probably up there with Murphy as probably the second best shot stopper in the country now. So like Murphy is just kind of a level ahead kind of at shot stopping, I think, right now. But Collins, like, particularly you go back to the Tony Kelly save to keep Cork in the championship. And let's just say, if Cork did win that final, that would have been the key moment. And that would have been his Nicky Quaid 2018 moment. So yeah, look, great season for him. And particularly in his first season, he'll continue to get better with the puck outs and everything as well. And look, I think Cork have a goalkeeper for the next 10 years if he stays fit.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% there. So Owen Murphy from Kilkenny is our pick for the team of the year 2021 in goal. Let's move on to the full back line. We have 9 names here. Rory Hayes from Clare, Sean O'Donoghue from Cork, Dan Morrissey from Limerick, Sean Finn from Limerick, Conor Prunty from Waterford, Hugh Lawler from Kilkenny, Cathal Barrett from Tipperary, Barry Nash from Limerick, and Paddy Deegan from Kilkenny are our 9 picks for nominations really for this line. Is there anyone that jumps off the list for you as an automatic selection?
Yeah, straight away, Sean Finn. I think probably the easiest decision on the entire team is him and cornerback. I think he'll be nominated for Player of the Year. And look, I think his final performance was just exceptional. It was probably the best cornerback performance I've seen. I've never seen a cornerback come out with that much ball consistently. When there was kind of all the 50-50 ball, it just seemed to kind of, the ball seemed to be a magnet to him, and he came out with it every single time. Like, you look as well, there was a turnover there in the second half, I think on Jack O'Connor, that he won, and it was just a different kind of class of defending. So look, he's my definite member of the full back line.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Sean Finn's the lock in that full back line. That I think it's undebatable. Sean Finn has to go in there. The rest of the line, I think, is definitely up for interpretation. Conor Prunty was selected as the Sunday Games Team of the Year fullback. Me personally, I would go with Dan Morrissey. Where do you stand on this?
Yeah, I'm Dan Morrissey as well. I think the only reason that Dan Morrissey doesn't get into the team is because he only started in the Limerick team come semi-final. But you look kind of the first half, Limerick are in all sorts of bother against Tipperary. Richie English is playing fullback and he's having an absolutely torrid time. That Tipperary are just running down the centre at will. The John O'Dwyer goal in particular is kind of demonstrating that. Dan Morrissey comes in there and completely angers us up. And I just think he plays the fullback position at a different level to everyone else in the country right now. He only played 2.5 games, but he was absolutely exceptional all like in every single minute that he played. So just due to the quality that he played, I suppose the levels that he reached, I'd go with him over Prunty. Prunty had a really good year. But I just think you gotta go with the best fullback in the country. And yeah, he played less games than Prunty, but I think he played at a higher level than Prunty. And I can't see any way that you can't go with him in fullback.
Yeah, no, I agree with you fully. As I've mentioned, I picked Morrissey over Prunty. As good as Prunty's been this year, I just think Morrissey, the impact that he had on the championship, his calming presence the second he came back into the Limerick team. You know, the way that they just looked so much better the second that Morrissey came back into the team shows how important he is now. So moving into the left cornerback position, we've decided Sean Finn and Dan Morrissey. Who is your first pick for left cornerback now?
I've actually gone with Sean O'Donoghue from Cork in there. I know it's a funny one, this, because like I know the Sunday game picked Barry Nash, and I think a lot of people will be calling out for Barry Nash here. But coming into this game, into the final, I think Sean O'Donoghue was a definite for me. I thought he was absolutely sensational all year, and like it was just a level of improvement that he's brought to his game, like his ability to play through the hands. And you look kind of the first time they played Limerick, how he absolutely shut down Galan in that game. All year he was playing against the opponent's best forward, and he was shutting them down every single game. I know he had an absolute kind of a very tough day in the final, and he was taken off after 50 something minutes. But this is a team of the year kind of selection. So yeah, look, I'm gonna go with O'Donoghue, just about holding off Barry Nash for my personal team. And I know maybe you might be debating that decision.
Yeah, me personally, I would go with Barry Nash just because the performances he's had all year, the point he hit right on the stroke of halftime in the final shows how comfortable he is going forward as well. He was exceptional in the Munster final against Tipperary. He's really nailed himself down a spot on that team now, and he's an epitome as well of how Limerick have no weaknesses, because he's their left cornerback, and to see how comfortable he is in every single facet of the game, he's just an outstanding hurler. Me personally, I would go with Barry Nash, but I am willing to settle for O'Donoghue in our combined team. So I think, does Robert Downey deserve a shout out? I know you were talking about how the final didn't go his way, but I think he had a good year up until that point.
I think he was probably should have been the man of the match against Clare. He wasn't given it, but he should have been the man of the match in that game. He was really good against Dublin, kept Ronan Hayes scoreless. And then after a shaky start against Billy Ryan, he really took over kind of the Kilkenny game at the end. So look, he has to be nominated, I think, for the position. But he probably just kind of, there was probably a few too many times that he was kind of in a bit of bother for him to be kind of in consideration over Dan Morrissey anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so that's our full back line for the 2021 Team of the Year. Sean Finn from Limerick, Dan Morrissey from Limerick, and Sean O'Donoghue from Cork. So moving into the half back line now, we've picked out 7 names here that we think are worthy of nomination. They are Liam Rush from Dublin, Calum Lyons from Waterford, Diarmaid Burns from Limerick, Pádraig Walsh from Kilkenny, Declan Hannon from Limerick, Kyle Hayes from Limerick, and Tim O'Mahony from Cork. Is there any names there that jump out as the first pick?
Well, yeah, I'd go straight away at centre half back. I'd go Declan Hannon. I think he kind of controls that entire shape of that Limerick team, and he's kind of the heartbeat of that team as well. He kind of had been kind of quiet enough in the championship, and then just kind of completely took over once we got to the semi-final and the final. So I think he has to be in centre half back. And then at left half back, I don't think anyone would debate Kyle Hayes there as well.
Yeah, I agree with both of those. Now, Declan Hannon is the heartbeat of that Limerick defence. He's the captain. You know, he's put himself in with Christy Ring as the only man to have lifted the Liam McCarthy on 3 occasions. He's the real quarterback of the Limerick team. I've said this a lot of times. You know, he starts a lot of the play for Limerick from deep. He's absolutely exceptional. Kyle Hayes as well on the wing. You know, just for that goal against Tipperary alone, he should get into the team. Unbelievable goal. Best goal I've ever seen, to be honest, for what he was able to do in that run. And then, of course, he got the goal against Cork as well. His tackle against Waterford, the one, I think it was on Patrick Curran, right at the end, shows how good he is at defending as well. He's just an outstanding player, and he's an outstanding athlete as well. The right half-back slot is the one I think we're going to have trouble with. As good as Liam Rush was all year, I don't think he could be our pick. I just think Dublin didn't do enough this year. Pádraig Walsh was outstanding for Kilkenny as well throughout the entire championship, but I'm not 100% sure he gets my nomination. For me, as good as Diarmaid Burns was, for me it's down to Calum Lyons and Tim O'Mahony. I just think they were both outstanding throughout the entire year. And which one out of these do you think you're going to go for? Or would you pick Diarmaid Burns or anyone else?
Yeah, look, I went Tim O'Mahony in the end, and I thought even in the final, I thought Tim O'Mahony really stood up, and there was some in a time when Cork were being completely overrun, he was still kind of catching clean puck outs and stuff as well, and he was nearly kind of on his own trying to drive Cork back into that game. You look back at that the goal against Dublin, it was kind of that was kind of his Kyle Hayes moment. The speed of him able coming out of defence from there, it was very very similar to Hayes' goal. Probably didn't get the same uh, the same kind of coverage as Hayes' goal did, but it was like absolutely spectacular still. And look, he's absolutely nailed down a wing back spot, particularly after kind of so many kind of questioning his defensive ability and stuff like that in previous years, saying that he can't be there. I thought he was absolutely superb at wing back, and I think I would go with him. I think Caelan Lyons is a good shout as well. I think he's played very, very well, and is offering an attacking threat. I think Caelan was probably a little bit better last season, though, and was very, very unlucky to kind of miss out last year. But yeah, I think I'd have O'Mahony ahead of Lyons, and well, look, you have to say Burns will be up there as well. Probably not his greatest ever year. Like he was completely dominant, but like he probably didn't hit the same kind of spectacular heights as last year. So that's probably why I'd go O'Mahony. I'd be curious what you think.
Yeah, I'm happy to go O'Mahony. I think Caleb Lyons definitely deserves the shout out for his year. I think he was superb. He hit one particularly inspirational point against Limerick in the semi final, which was a real captain's moment from him. But I'm happy to go O'Mahony because there were a lot of years now that O'Mahony's had where they haven't really been able to find where to put him. And there's no doubt that definitely would play on his psyche. But he's been outstanding this year at wing back. He's really found his position there, and I think he's Cork's right half back for years to come. So yeah, I'm happy to go with that half back line. So that's our defence, guys. We've gone with Owen Murphy in goal, Sean Finn, Dan Morrissey, and Sean O'Donoghue in the full back line. And then a half back line of Tim O'Mahony, Declan Hannon, and Kyle Hayes. Now moving into the midfield, Luke, we've picked 4 names here. Will O'Donoghue from Limerick, Darragh O'Donovan from Limerick, Tony Kelly from Clare, and Jamie Barron from Waterford are our standout picks. Which midfield pair are you going to go for?
Yeah, look, well, I think the two of us definitely agree on that Will O'Donoghue has to be the first name here anyway. I think he just brought midfield play to new levels, and I think he is absolutely probably he can nearly even be considered probably Limerick's most important player right now for like the kind of level of energy that he brings and the kind of he sets the standard and drives kind of standards in that midfield, and I think like it's impossible to leave him out anyway. So I'll be curious who you'd go for as someone to partner him.
Yeah, I completely agree what you said about Will O'Donoghue. First of all, I think he's the Roy Keane of this Limerick team. He's the enforcer. He's the general in midfield, and he gives the freedom to Keane Lynch and Gerald Hegarty and Tom Morrissey to express themselves. But Will O'Donoghue does the dirty work, and that can't go underestimated. Alongside him in midfield, as good a year as Jamie Barron had, I think the way he got bullied by Will O'Donoghue, I can't get that image out of my mind. Darragh O'Donovan is a really, really strong contender because of the performances that he had. Obviously, he got man of the match in the All-Ireland semi-final against Waterford when Limerick just blew them away that day as well. Tony Kelly, he scored 112 against Waterford, 111 against Cork, and 19 against Tipperary. It's really hard to ignore them statistics. It's between them two for me, and to be honest, I don't really mind who we go for here.
Yeah, look, I personally, I would differ slightly in that I actually went for Barron probably based off the 2 games, I suppose the Galway game and the Tipperary game when he won man the match in back-to-back games. But look, it's a very fair point with the Limerick game that like it's very hard to include him in a team when he came out. He was struggled so much, I suppose, in that department that he had to be moved to full forward. So yeah, look, I completely get that, and like I'm happy to concede that he won't be part of the team. So based off the 2 that you would prefer between O'Donovan and Kelly, I would actually probably just go with Tony Kelly shading. I think Kelly kind of this year you ran through his scoring tallies as well, particularly in the first day out against Clare. Playing for Clare against Waterford. I think he was completely unplayable, and yeah, maybe, and I think that like some people were kind of saying that maybe he wasn't quite at the level last year, but like last year he was just playing kind of freakish level. So I think he's done more than enough to warrant inclusion.
Yeah, I'm happy to go with that midfield pair. So our midfield pair is Will O'Donoghue from Limerick and Tony Kelly from Clare. So now we're selecting our 6 forwards. So firstly, the half forward line. the names that we've picked here: Garrod Hegarty from Limerick, Austin Gleeson from Waterford, Jack O'Connor from Cork, Jason Ford from Tipperary, Cian Lynch from Limerick, Seamus Hannity from Cork, Cathal Malone from Clare, and Tom Morrissey from Limerick.
This line, I suppose, is kind of, this is where I've gone with kind of, I just think this is where Limerick kind of are so strong that I think I've just gone all Limerick here. I've gone with their starting three half forwards: Hegarty, Lynch, and Morrissey. I think these are probably could potentially are their three most skillful and best players. And I've gone with the three of them. I know some other candidates were absolutely fantastic this year. I suppose you look at Austin Gleeson, you look at Jason Ford, and I suppose you look at Harnedy in the final as well. I think Jason Ford really unlucky because look, if Tipperary got further into the competition, I think he probably was a definite. He was scoring ridiculous tallies, particularly against Limerick in that game where he scored 8 from play. But he probably just didn't go far enough, and the Limerick half forward line, I think, just played at a level that was is impossible to probably ignore for me.
Yeah, and that's the rootless side of it. I know that there's the side that wants to go for Jack O'Connor, even from Cork, or Austin Gleeson from Waterford, because of his story of coming back and playing the best hurling that he can under Liam Cahill. Jason Ford as well is fantastic, but to be honest, I think the Tipperary team around him kind of let him down this year. He was doing a lot on his own, but I'm happy to go with that Limerick half forward line. The reality is they are the three best half forwards in the country. If you were to pick an Ireland team, you would pick Hegarty, Lynch, and Morrissey. I don't want to hear that you'd pick anyone different. You can talk about Tony Kelly. Yeah, you would put Tony Kelly in the team, but you would play that half forward line. They are the three best. The way that they played, particularly in the final, like me personally, I actually wouldn't have had Hegarty in my All-Star team over Austin Gleeson before the final. But seeing Hegarty's performance, he hit 2-2 in the first half, just ridiculous. So you can't ignore that. And for me, yeah, I'm happy to go with that half forward line. Then moving into the full forward line, we'll keep the nominations from the half forward line in case you want to kind of throw anyone else in. So for the three positions in the full forward line, we've Austin Gleeson, Jason Ford, Cathal Malone, Seamus Hannity. But then for me, there's a lock in the full forward line, a guy who has to be there, and that's Seamus Flanagan from Limerick.
Yep, completely. I think Flanagan was potentially as well in Hurler of the Year form, kind of coming into the game as well. And look, I think him coming out onto ball, he just proves to be absolutely unstoppable. And yeah, I think he's a really likable player. Plays the game very similarly to how kind of Seamus Callanan played it back in his 2016 season when he was so dominant. And I think there's an awful lot of similarities there. He just kind of collects the ball out in front every time, turn over the shoulder, over the bar. So I think he's the definite hit in there so far.
Yeah, and other names that I haven't even mentioned yet: Owen Cody from Kilkenny and Adrian Mullen from Kilkenny, Aaron Gillan and Peter Casey both from Limerick, and Patrick Horgan from Cork. Is there anyone else that you want to get into this team?
The full forward line I've actually gone with, it's probably going to be a bit, I'm not sure Limerick fans will be very happy with it. I've gone with Seamus Flanagan, Peter Casey, and then I went with Jack O'Connor over Aaron Gillan in the corner. Probably a controversial one and not an opinion held by many, but I just think O'Connor throughout the entire year, kind of the excitement that he brought to the championship, the constant goal threat. I know he only scored there's games where he only scored a goal against Dublin, but he was an absolute live wire that day, and the Dublin defence was absolutely kind of terrified by him. Other days, like the last day against Kilkenny, where he scored the goal and 3 points, and he just brought a kind of level of excitement to the championship that I think I really feel like that it was a much needed kind of spark to it, and I thought he was really good all year. And then kind of it's really hard to leave out Gillan, and I suppose I'm leaving him out on the basis that he was kind of poor the first day and he was dropped, I suppose, for the Munster final. Came on and was really good, but then I suppose in the semi-finals, probably again one of his quieter days, but then in the final he was kind of ridiculous as well. So it's just, if I could have a 16th man on my team, it would 100% be Aaron Gillan, but I was leaning towards O'Connor, but I would be happy to concede kind of because it's so close.
Yeah, no, me personally, my full forward line was Aaron Gillan, Seamus Flanagan, and Patrick Horgan. I think Patrick Horgan was absolutely outstanding in the All-Ireland semi-final against Kilkenny. I think particularly in the first half was as good a performance as I've ever seen. He really dragged Cork through that first half. And I think it's very harsh to leave him out as well. I think he was outstanding.
Yep, yeah, I think it's an interesting one. I suppose that well, the bit that we kind of differ is that like you were kind of leaving out Peter Casey, so it's a kind of yeah, Casey kind of, if Casey probably finishes that All-Ireland final, I think he's a lock for that team. I think he would have finished up with over 8 points in that game with the way he was going, with 5 points scored after 24 minutes, and I think nobody would have ignored him. So I think it's a difficult one to know, and I'd be kind of curious how we're going to finish up with this.
Okay, so we'll do it this way. So we both selected Seamus Flanagan at full forward. We both selected two different corner forwards. I've gone with Gallan and Horgan, and you've gone with O'Connor and Casey. So we'll both concede one to the other. So which of the two corner forwards do you want to have in?
I'd concede Gallan.
Okay, yeah, Gallan for me. I'm quite happy to have him in the team just because of his All-Ireland final performance. Patrick Horgan, though, 11 points in the All-Ireland final, just absolutely ridiculous, consistency from him. And he's been like this for years. But I'm quite happy to have Gallan into the team. I think he deserves it. For you, which one out of Casey and O'Connor are you going to put in?
Look, it's hard because like we're looking at this team and we want it to be kind of reflective of the entire championship, and potentially we could end up with a situation where all six forwards are Limerick forwards. But I genuinely think that Peter Casey probably had a better year than Jack O'Connor, despite how much I was raving about O'Connor. I think Casey just was exceptional this year, and I would probably go with Casey over O'Connor. But then you're looking at a situation where there's six Limerick forwards in the team. So yeah, it'd be interesting what you think.
Yeah, personally, I think just because if we're talking about All-Star, I think Jack O'Connor had more of an impact on Cork's year than Peter Casey had on Limerick's. I know Peter Casey was outstanding, but I think without Jack O'Connor's goal against Kilkenny, I don't think Cork would have even got to the All-Ireland final. So for me personally, I'd have O'Connor over Casey, as good as Casey is. And don't get this wrong, this isn't the case of me trying to belittle Peter Casey. He is an unbelievable hurler. But personally, I'd just go O'Connor just a little bit.
But these are my two starting corner forwards in my team. So because like you're preferring O'Connor team, I think he's warrants an All-Star this year. So I'm happy to go with him as the third member of that full forward line.
Okay. All right. So we've finished our first team. As a coach, as the manager, I think it has to be John Kiley, right?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I don't think there can be anyone else even considered.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So that is me and Luke's 2021 All-Star Hurling Team of the Year. The manager is John Kiley from Limerick. In goals, we've Owen Murphy from Kilkenny. Full back line is Sean Finn and Dan Morrissey from Limerick. And then Sean O'Donoghue from Cork in the left corner. Our half-back line is Tim O'Mahony from Cork, Declan Hannon, and then Kyle Hayes, both from Limerick. Our midfield pairing is William O'Donoghue from Limerick and Tony Kelly from Clare. Our half-forward line, Gerald Hegarty, Keane Lynch, and Tom Morrissey, all from Limerick. And then our full forward line is Aaron Gallan from Limerick, Seamus Flanagan from Limerick, and Jack O'Connor from Cork. So who is captain of this team? Who is our hurler of the year for 2021?
I'll nominate three names, I suppose, of who I think were kind of the outstanding candidates. And I suppose it's Sean Finn, Will O'Donoghue, and Keane Lynch, I think, are the three kind of standouts to me at the moment. I suppose honourable mentions, I suppose, to Tom Morrissey, Seamus Flanagan, and I'd maybe go with Kyle Hayes as well as the honourable mentions.
Yeah, I think they're all very, very good nominations. But me personally, Keane Lynch's display in the All-Ireland final was one of the most magical displays I've ever seen in a hurling match. So me personally, he would be my pick for hurler of the year.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I think the closest to him is Sean Finn. I think Finn was absolutely exceptional all year. Barely made a mistake, I think, and he was just kind of a new level of dominance in cornerback. And I think he's probably the finest cornerback that we've seen in a long, long time. So yeah, he has to be kind of probably the second choice. But I think you look at Lynch all year, he was probably the favourite going into it to the final, and then kind of to hit 6 points from play in the final, winning man of the match. I think just probably little doubt about it, and I think it's you could probably put your house on him being named Hurler of the Year by the GAA as well later.
Yeah, I'm happy to go with him as the captain, as our Hurler of the Year. Congratulations to Keane Lynch, and congratulations to everyone who is selected on our team of the year. Luke, thanks for making this team with me.
No worries, and yeah, looking forward to the second one next year.
Yeah, looking forward to the football one as well. We've got Kerry against Tyrone next weekend. We'll be definitely doing a match review for that. We'll also be doing a match preview for that later in this week. Don't forget to catch that and take care, guys.